Hello guys, this is going to be a video review of the NAD Viso HP50. This is a rather new headphone to the vast array of headphones, specifically in the $300 price range. The differences between this headphone is that it incorporates some innovative new features such as what NAD calls the room feel technology, and what that does is basically it's a specific type of frequency response or target curve for the headphone that tries to emulate the sense and sonic presentation that you'd get if you were in a well acoustically treated room with a set of flat speakers. And basically another thing that it does is also improve the sense of depth and the sound staging and the instrument separation of the headphone, and trying to the best of its abilities give a presentation that doesn't mimic the traditional headphone experience. So let's just start it off with the review. I'm just going to showcase what the HP50 comes with in terms of its accessories. So it comes with a Apple certified remote, and basically this is a traditional remote that you can use the volume up and down, as well as the play and pause for answering phone calls, skipping tracks, and all of that with the iOS devices. But only with the Android you can only take advantage of the play and pause button for skipping tracks, pausing tracks, as well as answering and hanging up on calls. It is a flat cable design to kind of minimize undetangling, and it basically terminates into your standard 3.5mm jack on both ends. Within the box you also get another cable, which is basically in simple auxiliary wire, which has no microphone inlay. You also get a carabiner to help secure the flat pouch, as you see here, onto a bag or something else. You also get your 1/4-inch jack, so you can utilize the headphone with your home base or studio base AV sources. And also you get your standard airplane adapter. Now back to the HP50s. Let's start it off with the comfortability aspect of this headphone, which is a very important aspect in terms of your shopping experience when you're searching for your ideal headphone. You want your headphone to be comfortable, because if it's not comfortable, it doesn't matter how good it sounds, you're not going to want to have it on your head. And I'll be happy to report that these are very, very comfortable headphones. Thanks to the rather large ear cups, as you can see, it really navigates around your ears, and from my experience, my ears have a lot of room, and basically my ears don't touch anywhere in the pads. So I get a very comfortable experience where the headphone is just basically in contact with around my ears, along with this very nice and soft headband where it distributes the weight evenly, and it's a very lightweight headphone. Even due to its size, I didn't expect it to be as light as it is, but it's a very lightweight headphone, and it still feels like it's very ruggedly built and has a very nice, stylish, and elegant design. Now moving over to the most important attribute and aspect of a headphone, the sound characteristics and pretty much its sound quality. When I first heard these headphones, it was rather a stunning experience, because I was not used to the sense of openness and the sense of space that this headphone provided, especially due to its class being in a closed back design. As you can see, the soundstage on these completely annihilates any other closed headphone that I have personally heard, especially the Sennheiser Momentum. Comparing these to the Sennheiser Momentum sounds rather confused and closed in direct comparison. And as a result of the comparison between the Sennheiser Momentum and the HP50 in the soundstage aspect, the sense of effortlessness and space and the subtle cues and details and reverbs and layering of the music, and so much more enjoyable with these headphones as opposed to the Momentums, which kind of sounds completely crushed in and somewhat near muted and bloated in direct comparison. The bass presentation of these headphones is also wonderfully accurate, impactful, and doesn't really add anything to the mix that's not already there. This is a very accurate presentation. A lot of headphones nowadays like to emphasize the bass region, because a lot of consumers feel that the more bass a specific presentation has from the speaker, the better quality it is, and that's a rather large misconception in this in the consumer world. But the bass presentation on these is very accurate and doesn't intrude anywhere on the other frequencies. The level of control that this headphone has is rather superb. Even when I apply a bass boost equalizer, it still maintains its integrity gives a very nice, somewhat like hammer-like impact, which is a very good indication of the impulse response. And as you can see from the distortion graph of these headphones, the bass area is very, very exceptionally low. So the bass presentation of these headphones are beautiful. It's very well extended, tight, and it's very accurate. Now moving over to my favorite frequency, which is the mid-range, and these pretty much are just exceptional once again. It's a very accurate presentation, but it does add that sense of warmth that I enjoy, because if you have a rather neutral mid-range presentation, the voices could sound a bit cold and lifeless if it's very neutral to the source. So I'm very glad that these headphones incorporate a very slight hump in the lower mid-range, which gives a more fullness and life to the vocals and the instruments in that specific region. The vocals come through very clear and separated, and in comparison to the Sennheiser Momentum, the vocals on those are also exceptionally well done, but it's the placement of the vocals and the renderation in terms of separating it out. It sounds rather claustrophobic in the sense that it sounds like you're kind of like inside the singer's throat. And in terms of separation between different vocals, the Sennheiser Momentums does a rather mediocre job in comparison to these, which is spectacular in how it separates the different vocals and places them in the different locations in the soundscape. So in comparison to the Momentums overall, I would prefer the mid-range on these. However, the Momentum's mid-range is still exceptionally well done in terms of its tonality and its renderation. It's just that the sense of separation and the sense of the lack of claustrophobicness is rather mediocre on the Sennheiser Momentum due to its smaller soundstage. Moving over to the treble, once again, I'm trying to really find faults in this headphone, and it's just, I really can't find it. The treble response on these is well extended, very articulate, and a complete lack of sibilance, even though it has a very well presented treble that doesn't sound dull in any way possible. And the sense of the extension really adds to the soundstage and ability, and the sense of air and how it can place specific layers and sound cues in the soundscape. I really enjoy this treble response, and it really makes the Sennheiser Momentums once again sound kind of dull in direct comparison. However, the Sennheiser Momentum's overall presentation is still enjoyable. It's like a laid-back, mellow presentation, but I do prefer the more accurate, not hiding anything from your musical presentation type of approach that this headphone has to offer. So, being that the treble is so nicely articulate, it really gives a nice snap and overall detail retrieval that I've never heard from a closed-back headphone, period. So moving over to the detail retrieval aspects, these once again are superb. Since every frequency range is rather accurately presented, it's not going to hide anything in the mix, and it has a very nice sense of separation, so the soft, subtle cues can be easily heard in the vast open soundstage that these portray. So you get a lot of detail renderation, and it really sounds like you're listening to your music for the first time. And the tonality of your music sounds very different because you're not used to an accurate sounding headphone. So in terms of that aspect, these are once again exceptional. So now you're probably wondering, what are the flaws that these headphones have? So let's go over that. First, let's see sonically what flaws they could have. I can say a potential flaw that this headphone can have is because since it's a neutral presentation to an extent, except for the lower mid-range, it could be sort of bland or boring to someone looking for a ton of bass response for their type of specific genre. However, being that the soundscape and the sound slope is so flat and so sort of like vanilla-like, you can easily tune it and shape it to your specific desires. And the EQ response and the way this headphones handles equalizations to its frequency response is absolutely superb. And I've done some massive bass boosts to these things, and it still handles the bass exceptionally well. When I try to bass boost the Sennheiser Momentum, the bass becomes rather muddy and distorted, as you can see from the distortion plot of the Momentum. You can see that the THD noise rises significantly in the lower bass region, meaning that the speaker cannot really control itself when it reaches down low. But these, on the other hand, it'll give you a very tight and impactful, rather animal-like bass if you want to boost the bass presentation of this headphone. Now, sonically, the flaw may not actually be a flaw to someone who's very discerning and analytical, But in terms of its aesthetic design, this could be a flaw, and it's basically if you're depending on your head shape, these could look a bit odd on your head because of this square type headband. And the reason why it's square is so it can give a balanced exit approach and how the cups can rest on the side of your head, and so it could be, you know, more evenly aligned. So if it was kind of rounded, it'll put more pressure on this top part. As you can see, if the headband exited like this, it'll put more pressure and the seal wouldn't be as full on the bottom part. So being that it's square, it gives a more full seal around the entire ear cup. But that's my only possible flaw, and that is the aesthetics of this headphone. However, due to the sound quality, I couldn't possibly care less how this thing looks on my head. It sounds absolutely amazing. So that could be a flaw for you guys, but once again, if you hear these headphones, you wouldn't care how square it is. This could possibly look like it could have antennas coming out this way. I couldn't care less. This thing sounds absolutely spectacular. You can pick this up on Amazon. I'll have a link below for about $299 USD, which is an absolute steal in my opinion, especially for the fact that this performs better than any headphone that I've heard in that specific region. Even my previously beloved Sennheiser Momentum, this completely annihilates the Ferraris that I had before and the V-Motor M100s in terms of its accuracy and its sonic qualities. So if this video has not covered any specific concerns or questions that you may have wanted to be answered, feel free to post them below. I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Later.